Yo, what's good? Welcome to Observing the Process. Before we start, I'm hoping you can help me out by supporting the show. You can rate and review it on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends, you can blog about it, discuss it on your own podcast, or you can support it directly. You can do this by going to my Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description. On there, you will find subscriber-only content, like my Ask Me Anything episodes, videos and photos from Shanghai Observed I can't post on Instagram, as well as the bonus questions from many of these interviews. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. Today on the show, I had Luis Castro. Luis is the creator of 354 Films, and he's been doing this project where he posts on Instagram 1-minute clips every day. He's mostly documenting China, and I somehow came across it on Instagram, I think through an ad. It matched up pretty perfectly with what I do on Shanghai Observed, kind of just like observing, not that much commentary in his videos. So I was really excited to have him on the show, and he shared his story about the ideation of the project to creation. He also shared a lot about living in other countries and his background as a film student. He went to NYU in the 90s. I thought that was really cool. He talked about the process of developing a film way before there was digital. So without further ado, please give it up for Luis Castro.
In the land of China, people hardly got nothing at all.
No possessions?
And in China, they never go to church.
No religion too?
Or do magic.
Well, it's easy if you try, Dick.
2, 1. Okay, we're live. Luis, how are you doing? Thank you for coming over.
Thank you. Pretty good, thanks.
Yeah. So I actually think I found your Instagram maybe through an ad or maybe someone recommended it to me. For people who don't know, you do 354 Films. Can you tell people what that is? Like, what is 354?
You must have found me through an ad because
Yeah.
I did a few ads. The nature of the film, the premise of the film is to make one film a day of 1 minute in China or outside China related to China or the influence of China in the world. Some of them are not, but as well, I like to compare China with the world. But the main theme is China and understanding China.
Okay. And you said you've actually been based in Beijing for like 6 years, you said?
Yes.
How did you end up in Beijing?
I was in Japan before for 3-4 years. I came here. I set up a company with a friend of mine. I was doing some consultancy, trying to helping Spanish companies to set up in China.
Okay.
And that was the main reason why I came here.
Cool. And I'm very curious, because the first video you post on the Instagram is like, Mr. Wong is this Chinese art collector. Is that the true backstory, or is that just for fun?
I have some confidentiality agreement on that, so I cannot talk about it. But,
okay.
It's not up to me to convince you about that. It's just part of the narrative.
Yeah.
And, it's up to you. When you watch a movie and then the movie starts and something happens
Sure.
and you really buy it and sometimes you don't buy it. Well, it's not up to me, It's part of the narrative.
No, it's really fun. I think it's a really enticing way. It got me into the video, the videos. I really like the documentary aspect of it because for me, my Instagram is observing Shanghai. And it kind of started as a daily photo project, and it was an outlet for me to do kind of what you're doing, but you do it on a video level where I was doing it on specifically just a photo level. Mine evolved a little differently, but yeah. So what was the feeling when you were doing the first one? Have you always been creative like this, or was this one of your first projects like this?
I studied filmmaking at NYU. After being in New York studying, I went to Los Angeles. I was working in the industry for a few years. But I became a bit disappointed. I studied film in a romantic way, but like an art way. And then I go to the industry and I work my ass off in these shitty movies, editing films. I don't give a damn. Working on films of 16 hours. Yeah. So I kind of like got burned with it. And I left. I went to teach film in Miami, and then I left the States, and then I moved into business, and I totally forgot about. Always always related to always going to museums, always studying art, always really interested in films and art. But yeah, I quit for like 15, 16 years doing film.
This is very, you bring up the topic of just you were disappointed. And I relate to this, and it brings me to a question of today we live in a world where the medium is the internet. That's the way we share our content, right? And Instagram tends to be the way that I share my content. And a lot of young people growing up, I think they don't even understand sometimes that there's so many other ways to share content. Like, for example, your videos are 1 minute long. They seem like they're built for Instagram. So I wanted to talk about, like, does that frustrate you? Did you make these videos for Instagram with that intention?
Okay. I mean, I went back into filmmaking. I was in Guizhou, in a small village called Dali. Not Dali, Yunnan, Dali, Guizhou. It's a village of 1,000 people. I just had my new iPhone, which is pretty good. A few of the films are shot with the phone. And I bumped into this funerary in the middle of the mountain. And I shot the whole thing.
This what in the middle of the mountain?
A funerary.
Yeah. What's that?
Funerary, sorry.
A
funeral.
Oh, funeral. Sorry. Oh, good. Funeral. Yeah.
A funeral. It was quite incredible because they have to bring up this coffin all up the mountain, because the shaman.
Oh, yeah, it's a very intense process.
Yeah. It is. Actually, I'll give you the link. You can
have
a look. It's quite.
Check it out.
I like it a lot. So I followed the whole process. Then I stayed in the village. Then I went a couple of times and I did a piece, I think, which is a beautiful piece of 40 minutes, but no dialogue. Very abstract, very arty. I was very happy with it. And I did a small trailer of 1 minute. And people like the trailer more than the film.
Yeah.
I mean,
what year is this? I'm curious.
No, last 2 years ago.
Okay, so it's in the internet era, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
That's what makes the difference. In my opinion.
And I was working like 8 months in this film.
Oh my goodness!
I don't think ever.
And then 1 minute does better than the.
I'm very proud of it, and I don't think, except my family of 2 close friends, saw the whole thing.
Oh yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard to live in this world of putting your blood and soul into it.
And it was almost like a year of daily working, traveling. I do like the trailer, and I do think the trailer tells a story. So. I knew that we didn't have any span. How do you call it? Span
budget, like
concentration. We don't have any concentration.
Oh, we don't have attention span.
Exactly, attention span anymore. So then I did a couple of films with the phone of 1 minute, and they look good. I mean, I was happy with it. I was happy. The fact of actually there were not 1 minute. There were like 2 minutes and a half, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I was happy to be able to tell a story with enough content and themes that the same themes a feature movie will do in every of my films, which I really like.
Yeah.
And then where do I post it? Then I saw Instagram. They said the limit of 1 minute. And then I went back to edit those films and they look better.
Yeah. Well, there's something nice about a concise 1 minute film.
It looked better.
It feels nice and neat. It makes me kind of happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it looked much better. I mean, those films of 3 minutes shrunk into 1 minute. They all look better.
Yeah.
So it became like an exercise of self editing. How if you shoot the video or the film or the photos in your case, you always attach to those photos or those videos, and you always want to keep them.
Yeah.
So it's hard to edit, but it's 1 minute.
Yeah.
So you have to do it. It was good, and that's the way it started. I started like 2-3 months before the year started, so I prepared a few films. I was, getting into the style of every film, and then I started the year and I started the project.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, and I just related to it so much because my project didn't start out as like it's going to be this big thing. It's going to be like my focus.
It evolved, right?
It evolved, and I think that that happens for a lot of creative people. Like they start something maybe as an exercise, like you and I did, and then it turns into something new that's exciting and creates a life of its own.
Absolutely.
That really inspires me. So I wanted to talk to you about some of the favorite places you've been. So you started, the project started in Europe, did you say?
Yeah.
So what was the first video? Do you remember the first video? Like,
the first video, actually, it's in a cemetery. And my idea was to portray Europe and the West as the death of the West,
The dead of the West.
Yeah, pretty much.
Europe as the dead of the West.
Yeah. The death of Europe. That what is Europe has become like a theme park, pretty much, and portrayed that, comparing that to China, the new superpower, that everything is happening here. So it was that. So I started in a cemetery.
Yeah, that's dramatic.
Actually, yeah. And, before I started this project, I've been always traveling, but forcing myself to go to a city and finding the stories, I travel in a different level, because I really need to understand the city and the people.
Yeah.
So it's like a shoot. Yesterday I shoot like maybe 2 or 3 pieces. Then I have to go back to Beijing. So I stay with the city for a few days, and I have to make sense of it.
Right.
So I like every place now. I found anything interesting, and mainly in China. After like 5 years and a half, I understand in China thanks to this project.
Right.
So that's what you said before, that this podcast is mainly for you.
Yeah, this podcast is for me. I appreciate the audience. I hope it grows. But at the end of the day, if I'm not enjoying the conversation, why am I doing this?
So that's what I'm doing in this project. The films are for me.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's one of the biggest problems when I was starting filmmaking, that I was doing things
that weren't for you.
I was doing things for results.
Oh, okay.
I was doing things to win festivals.
So in the end, not really for you. Not your award.
They were my films, but I was thinking more about the result than the process.
Yeah.
So of course I got frustrated because the results were not there.
Yeah.
And they will eventually would have get there if I keep pushing it, if I was really much into it, like I'm into this project.
Yeah. I'm very passionate about making sure you're able to do something that's for you. But for a lot of people, it's super hard to find that and get to that place. And you said you're 46?
Yes.
And so how long did it take you to get to that place? 20 years. Man.
It took me a long time to find something that, yes, I did things. I was working, I was making money, but something I'm really passionate about, because I did study filmmaking and I wasn't using those tools, because I didn't find really anything I could, do with.
What I wanted to say is it really shows through your work when you truly love it or not. Like, for example, if you're sharing work just to try and reach a certain market of people, people don't see the passion or the love, but when you're doing these projects just for you, you don't care what the audience thinks, they will actually feel that, I think. And it really draws in people that are like, oh, wow, this person created something original that they wanted to make.
Yes. I see the reaction of the people with the films. I see that they like when I interact with people more. So I'm trying to interact more with people. I was more tending into doing more abstract films, but I think, and also I'm beginning to like to interact with people. That's why, that's what the most powerful movies are.
Something I wanted to talk about is working in China versus other places, because I feel like my street photography blossomed in China because of the way the people are. They do not care if you're taking a photo of them.
I have a lot of troubles making movies this style outside China. Actually I have to follow people. I went to Hong Kong when I was doing my 25 movie or something like that, and I couldn't find a story. Right. So I need to start following people, and then a couple of pieces were very interesting about following people. It's called Romeo and Juliet. But I think Chinese people, they're so open about talking to me, or they see, okay, let's see this Lao Wai, doesn't understand anything.
They love to test you. The little test. They'll say some funny things.
He thinks he speaks good Chinese, but he doesn't know shit about China. Let me tell him. Let me explain to him. And pretty much they do the movies to me. I just have to put myself in the situation to unfold, the beauty of, the unknown story of the daily life, and put myself there, talk about, and they gave it to me. They gave to me the story, which is incredible. They're nice. And I don't know if you've seen some films that really get into people's houses.
Yeah, it's impressive that
it's like trespass. Could you do that in the States?
No. People
Not in
would
Europe.
literally, I've heard stories of people traveling and they're like, one guy, he was traveling road trip across America and he was just like getting some rest in a field, laying next to a tree, and he wakes up to a shotgun in his face. Literally wakes
because
up to
you know how he's a property, somebody else's property.
Yeah, he's like, you're on my property, get off. And the guy's like, dude, there's no fences. I'm just laying here. It's the polar opposite to what China is. People inviting you into their homes. Like,
I'm literally trespassing houses, and they don't give a damn. Yeah. They just let me in, you know.
I wonder, like, I guess you could easily say it's a cultural thing, but what is the cultural thing? For me, I think it's, people are kind of living on top of each other here in a city. So you're already used to having people like kind of be in your space.
Yeah. Some people told me it was about the communists and they're used
just the way it used to be.
Yeah. They don't, it's just more like a social, spaces. I mean, it's not about owning. It's not about being your house.
That's interesting.
Not about this is my house. No, this
is our house.
Yeah. It's pretty much
because we all work for this.
It is something. It comes from there. I think.
I tend to find that the friendliest people and the most fun people to photograph are people that aren't even from Shanghai. Because it's funny, when I first moved here, I'm like, everyone is foreign to me. But then eventually, I came to learn that there's local Chinese people that live in Shanghai. They're Shanghainese. And then there are people from, Anhui or, Chongqing and out west. And they come here and they have a totally different eye when they're looking at the city. So I find it took me a while to like see those different types of people. And that's when I was recommending to you to go to Lujiazui.
I'm going to go now.
Yeah, you should go check it out after this show. You'll see, I mean, you've lived here for so long. You already probably know this, but that's a good place to find those tourists of China.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy like taking photos. Even migrant workers, they're just like so happy to be here for being paid so little.
Yeah, they are. I was talking to some people from Anhui as well yesterday. I think I made a piece. It's a funny piece because there was like Dior. It was a People's Park.
Okay.
And there was this Dior show. The museum, small museum, modern museum. It's like exhibition about Dior. Sure. And they wanted to charge 70 yuan. Yeah. And I said to the girl, okay, the National Museum is free. And now you're trying to charge me 70 yuan for this.
Yeah.
And these Anhui people, they were the gardeners, listen to it. And when did you speak Chinese? Oh, you speak Chinese so well.
Yeah.
And they were laughing about that. They told me, why don't you get in? It's so fucking expensive. I mean, I can go to the National Museum for free. And they were laughing,
And you said Dior, like the brand Dior?
What was that? It was Dior.
Some type of brand was charging for a show.
That all these all these big jewelries and they do shows in museums and people go and they have to pay and you have the National Museum at People's Park free.
Yeah.
And they want you to pay 70 yuan to see this Dior shit.
Bizarre.
So they listened to the whole conversation and they were very friendly about it. And
so you turned this into a video?
I think so.
That I mean, whether you did or you didn't, you could have. And that's what I find so cool about your videos is that their experiences documented in a way that is not like, vlogging. It seems like so unnatural to vlog and hold a camera in front of your face.
No, it's
you do. What I'm saying is you do it in a different way. You're not holding the camera in front of your face.
It is. I really like a style called Cinema Verte, which is.
Can you explain?
I will. That's what I was doing after. I mean, I did a trilogy in the 2001 about the States. I mean, I did a film longer about New York, Miami, and Los Angeles, places where I lived. And the basis of the style is pretty much mixing the elements of fiction and documentary. So getting the footage, getting the video in a documentary style, but then using the elements of fiction, that beginning, a conflict, and an ending, and that makes the piece quite unique.
Right,
unique to the point that I would never be able to do it myself again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because how am I gonna find this situation again?
Right.
How am I gonna force? It's impossible to force that situation. I mean, there's these three guys they're gardeners and they listen to my conversation. That pretty much I'm not making fun, but I'm saying to the people at the door, they're saying, and they were so proud. They were like being part of this Dior shit.
Yeah.
And I said, how am I gonna pay Chinese, they see you foreign, do you think are rich? Do you think you have money? Whatever.
Yeah.
And how am I going to pay 70 yuan to see this? If, like literally 200 meters away, the National Museum for free. So they listened to it.
Right.
And then it was kind of, probably a good story there.
Yeah. No, I'm remembering now what Cinema Verte is. And I actually love it because it's a story, but you let the story go where it wants to go. You start with a plan, but then you don't like care where it goes.
You don't block anything. You just let the reality happen and just follow it. You put yourself in a situation that something happens, and then just try to be less. Don't interrupt anything, Or in this case, make them talk. Make them talk about what are they doing there and whatever, and then in the editing, just create the story.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, one of my favorite pieces that you made is the crab video. There are people buying crabs and bantering about how much it costs. And to someone who doesn't understand Chinese, you'll have no idea really what they're talking about. And sometimes maybe you'll think like, oh, they're having some complex conversation, but like it's truly just bantering over numbers and very simple. Do you remember that piece?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was also curious what camera you're using because it seems like a very simple operation, which I love.
I can show you the camera.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
Actually, the first films were made with my iPhone, and I miss it.
You miss it?
Yeah. I mean, I was using this Zoom
recorder.
The problem is that I'm quite disorganized. But this is a 4K.
Right. This is pretty much what I thought the camera would be.
Yeah.
It reminds me what we used to have, or not me. This was not my era, but one of the most famous cameras for filming skateboarding is a VX camera.
Yeah, it was that.
I guess you grew.
I grew up with that. It was same
VX.
size.
Yeah.
But this is I use Zoom a lot. That's what the phone.
Yeah, that's what I love about the smooth zoom in and zoom out is so important.
Yeah, the zoom is very important. So this camera has an incredible zoom. The quality.
Oh wow! Yeah, what is it? It's 18 optical.
Wow. The quality. The quality is almost to the biggest level. You can get. There is still better quality, but the camera is so big that I couldn't really. It has to be this size. This is the biggest I can carry.
Yeah, no, I really love this style of camera. Like, I'm interested in getting one. So I feel like that's exactly what a video journalist would use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like for me, I've only used DSLRs, and I've always been, I think, actually limited with how complex you can make those cameras.
Yes.
You can switch lenses, you can put lights, you can get, but like what I want is just simple and easy and put it out.
Listen, I went to this Herzog, the German filmmaker, came to Beijing, and all these students were asking him what to do, and he just told, you need to shoot, man. Shoot with the phone. Shoot as much as you can. Don't worry about you don't have to. The more you worry about the lenses, the way it's gonna look, even the sound. I have a microphone here, but I hardly ever use it. It sounds fine. Sometimes I force myself, but it sounds fine. It's not that important, as long as you can capture the story, the less things you have, it'll be better.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because even
the phone,
exactly. That's what I was just about to say.
I made a lot of films with the phone, and people don't even notice.
Well, that's one of my recent guests, Omid Shebani. His work is done strictly off of an iPhone.
Yes.
Strictly because he believes that phones will be the cameras of the future. They already are pretty much.
They are.
And they will be very soon in terms of like, have you seen the new Huawei that can do like 50 times zoom? It's absolutely insane what it can do. Like, I'm not sure if it's optical or.
I need to buy. I'm just waiting for the new phone to come. Yes, and I will. I think I use both camera and phone because it's. It gives you a lot of freedom.
Yeah. It allows you to just have it in your pocket and always take it out. For even me, like I recently bought Sony RX 100. The 5. I don't know if you're familiar with that point and shoot camera. It's Sony's like flagship point and shoot.
Okay.
And it's so small and nice, but it's still isn't always in my pocket. My phone is always in my pocket. So that's why
you need to go, I mean, just get the thing,
Yeah. Just start.
Who cares really about, the pixels anymore? Who cares about the quality,
Yeah.
I mean, it's good too, but,
So when did you go to NYU?
That was back in the 90s, man.
Back in the 90s.
Last century.
So that's what I find interesting, or something a little different, is like the way, like university, I don't think you need to go to university for a creative field anymore. I think it will limit you, actually. What do you think about that?
For me, 2 years would have been enough.
So just a shorter period of time.
Yes. I mean, I could have gone to continuing education, that they have in New York. The same teachers they do, they do the graduate. They go to continue. At least back on those days they do, right? It was called continuing education.
Yeah, we didn't have that. Or for me, I just have a 4-year like bachelor's degree.
Yeah, well, anybody can go to the continuing education. The same teachers that were at NYU and Tisch, they were teaching there in the night.
Okay.
I think 2 years would have been enough instead of 5, but
Yeah. So you did 5.
Yes.
And what was your program? Like, were you required to have like a final piece, or what was the story?
Yeah, I was doing screenwriting. I was doing actually the class I enjoyed the most is one summer class I did at USC, in which you have to. It was the one I learned the most. It was more than in the 5 years. I don't know what you have to do a piece every week. Just one piece. Now I make one a day. I was very influenced by that. They give you the camera, they give you the Avid, you can edit there. And on those days, we still shoot on 16 millimeters, which takes a long time. And I was actually editing on those big tables,
So you were editing film?
German, cutting film.
Jesus, I have no idea where to begin editing film.
I was cutting film with, with a razor, with these big tables, but it was kind of good to touch the film. And then we were doing the films on 60 millimeters. So in summer I went, and the first DV cameras were out, and we made a movie a week. And that was the best. So
making a movie a week was on the DV cameras, not on the film setup?
Yeah, on the DV cameras.
Okay, I was about to say a movie a week with film.
No. That we used to do one by semester, but doing one a week with the DV cameras to me was the biggest lesson.
Yeah.
And now I do one a day.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, what was my introduction to video was I got a Canon T3i. It was DSLR 2012. And I got it to film skateboarding because I just like did the research, like what's the, my only goal was to make sure that the screen flips and I can have a fisheye lens. Like that's my introduction. And I just, I used iMovie, and I just like, when you get the footage into the editing software, and then like it starts to click and you have the music. And for me, I just love that experience of it getting like closer and closer and closer to a final project.
Yes.
That's what I really enjoy about the creation process.
The editing.
Yeah.
Editing.
My own stuff. I like editing. When it's for a client, I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
I was an editor for a couple of years, and it was the worst, worst job ever.
Because, dude, the going back and forth, it gets to a point
about shit.
You do it. You move it 2 seconds to the left to get what you want. Yeah. So I can't really do editing for someone else, but I do love editing my own stuff and getting it precisely to the way I want it.
Yes.
For your projects, do you do much editing, or is it pretty cut and dry?
It is. There is a lot of editing. There was a lot of editing in the beginning. I'm trying to do movies with 2-3 shots now.
2 or 3 shots.
I'm trying. Actually, I did one about Hong Kong, the protest of one shot. I will upload it today. So I'm trying. I have maybe 2 or 3 films of one shot, and I'm trying to just not as much edit. I'm beginning to get really good about seeing stories now. So to understanding the story before were more they were, of course, the essence of the story I knew, but they were more made in the editing, and now I do more in the shooting.
In camera. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot harder for sure, because you have to do pre-production more or less.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
So then how do you plan?
In
the moment, turn it in?
The best movies came when I'm just outside looking for stories.
Yeah.
With no plan. I mean, I'm trying, since I have to do so much, I'm trying to, I mean, you told me about going to this place.
Yeah.
I go with an idea. Before I came, I went to, where did I go? To IKEA, because I knew these people was sleeping in the, Chinese people. So I pretty much have an idea. That makes the thing easier. But I bump into bad stories when I have no, I just cruising around and then I see it.
Yeah. Well, for these types of films, it's, I think, no way to get around. You have to get a little lucky. You have to be a little lucky for the story to line up.
Lucky doesn't get if you stay in your room,
Oh, absolutely. So as long as you're going out, sure, you're trying your best.
Yeah.
But for example...
it depends on your mood as well. Yesterday, I was in a really good mood, and then I found 3 stories in a couple of 2 hours. Sometimes, I feel shy. I have days I feel shy, you know. I mean, and it takes me longer, but if you push yourself, you'll find something.
Definitely.
You'll find something.
Definitely. I completely agree.
Yes, luck. But you need to be out there. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, like, my mood will 100% affect my photography if I'm trying to go out and do street photography, because like if I'm like in a very energetic mood and I'm blasting music and I'm not afraid to get in someone's face for a second and walk away. But if I'm shy and I'm like, hesitant.
So you feel shy sometimes?
Yeah, of course. If you feel like,
I said to people and they don't believe it, because they see your films and how can you be shy? Well, yeah, I have days I'm
everyone
shy.
has moods. Everyone has a like roller coaster of emotions. Like you go up and down.
One day I feel pretty good. Yesterday was a very good day. And kind of make the story happen. Pretty much like the one you saw in the crap. I went to those typical Chinese Shanghainese houses.
Okay. They call them like hutongs in Beijing, in lane houses, what I would say in English.
Yeah, and I found this pretty interesting story. But depends on the mood.
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually been in a bit of a lull for street photography recently. I haven't gotten many shots. I've been transitioning out of film actually, and I'm just trying to do digital. And I don't know.
I think you should, man.
Yeah. Get back into digital is what you're saying? Yeah.
Why are you doing film? Why are you making this?
I already have. I did it because I thought it was cool. I did it because I thought like you get some type of but it limits you a lot. Like you take way less photos throughout the day.
Don't do this, man. Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Do you do photography at all, or do you just do video?
I used to do a little bit for a couple of years, but I was I'm not. I don't think I'm good at photography. I'm much better at moving images.
Right.
So. But no, just go back to digital.
I'm getting back into digital. It's
cool, sounds cool, make you look cool. But
for me, I think its place is more for like a night out with friends, and it's like I bring like a little, pocket size, like a Muji, like a Mewtwo.
It takes you a long time.
Yeah, and then you don't get your photos back for days. Yeah, no, I have mixed emotions because sometimes the photos come out beautiful and there's a nice feeling.
But beautiful how? The
grain, the texture is noticeably different.
But sometimes. You can get all this texture with filters, man. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's where
it gives you less merit that you do it with a.
This is an interesting debate because there are some people that would debate you until the cows come home. You know what I mean?
Whatever, the result is the result.
Yeah.
I mean,
I go back and forth because, I mean,
what will be the ideal having the print, being able to sell a print, a negative, having the negative, and then that gives more value to the image.
Maybe not. Depends on the buyer. Depends on the person buying it.
Come on, man. I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, my introduction was all digital, and then eventually I got into film. For you, your introduction was through film.
Yeah.
So I guess it's worthwhile taking your advice because you've seen both sides of the coin from beginning to end.
It was good to start editing, cutting the film. I had an idea of what film was, and then going to digital. I think it was good, and it was good to know that I will never come back. I mean, editing film is impossible now by cutting, and
who does that? That'd be so much of a. But I guess like Quentin Tarantino, I think he shoots all of his stuff on like
film.
Yeah,
but then he edits on Avid. I mean, it doesn't make a difference.
Can you explain the process? I don't. edit on Avid? What does that mean?
Avid. I mean, Avid used to be, and now it's Final Cut Pro, I guess. You know.
So you just digitalize the film.
Yeah.
So that's how you. Oh yeah. So people aren't cutting film.
Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Never.
So people are digitalizing film, and then it makes.
Spike Lee was doing that like 15 years ago. There was the last guy who was actually cutting the film.
Really?
But that was like 15 years ago or something like that. There is no way you're gonna cut film. You know?
Yeah. No, I'm ignorant, man. I don't know the process.
No. It's not about being ignorant. I mean, it's just you digitalize. And No.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You can. I don't see a problem in it. I mean, in a big production, it doesn't make a difference to shoot in film and digital. It's such a big production, and everything is so pre-planned that it would be the same.
Yeah,
it won't make a difference.
Yeah, I just somewhat disagree. I think I can get a feeling when it's truly shot on film. Like my friend shot a music video that was shot on 16 millimeter, and
I think just because you want to make. I mean, why?
It just looks different. The look is different.
You can get all these looks with filters.
I'd like to do like a test, like the Pepsi Coca-Cola test. You put them like two. You don't know which is which. You taste the one and see what's different. Okay. I'd like to see. It's shot on digital and it also shot on film. One is with a filter and then one is truly film, and see how many people could tell the difference. Okay. I'm telling you, if most people got it right, I know that's the true film. Would you change your mind if people got a different feeling?
It will be only people who with a trained eye.
A trained eye.
Which is 1% of the population.
That's true. So
0.1 maybe of the population has a trained eye to tell the difference. So 99.9 won't care about that.
That's true. But for me, what I'm saying is it doesn't matter about the 99. It matters about the artist. And if the artist truly cares about their creation process and that's what makes the difference for them, and they become more emotionally invested in it because of the process. Like that's more my point. I truly enjoy the process of shooting film. Buying the film, it's a little bit of a hobby. I go to the store, I talk to the guy, I load it into my camera. I have a relationship with the guy who develops it for me. I enjoy getting it back and being like, oh wow, I didn't think that photo would come out fun. Like I'm saying it has its place in the world.
The biggest problem for me is that I shoot everything on automatic, and I haven't learned anything. I don't want to learn. I mean, even though I learned many times how to shoot a photo. I can't. I don't remember. I'm not good at that. I need to point and shoot. I cannot be bothered by all these things. Right. It won't happen to me if I'm bothered about the whole thing.
That's fair enough. Yeah. I think we've found common ground. For me, I'm saying it's a hobby. I enjoy the process of doing it.
That's nice.
For people who really want to get shit done and just want to create. Yes. Of course, digital is the answer. It's faster. Yes. There's less to be worried about with things going wrong. Like I totally see that point.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm doing it myself. I mean, it's a lot of work, but I don't need anybody. And that's one of the great things about this project. That in the end, is I'm exactly in the middle of the project. I have 176 films, so it's 3 hours. In the end, it will be 6 hours. Who is it? Or
do you plan to cut it all together and it just like rolls through? Or
I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it. But my point here is like it all depends on me. So I'm gonna have these 354 movies, which will make 6 hours about China and the world, and I don't have to. It depends on me.
Yeah, of course. It's your decision. It all
depends on me.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have to, I wrote a script. If I have to produce a movie through a script, I mean, it depends on so many people and so many external factors. I just go out and shoot. And it's about this concept that write 3 pages a day. In the end of the year, you'll have 1,000 pages. Well, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. What other notable projects have you worked on in your past? Anything else? Like, because we briefly talked about you doing a 40-minute piece, and then people liked the 1 minute. Yeah. Is there anything else that you've done? I'd like to hear some stories.
Yeah, after school, I was as well very much into cinema Verte, and I did that trilogy about the States. Instead of like 300 movies now, I did like 3 films. One it was like 10 minutes pieces. New York, Miami, and Los Angeles, and then some interviews, which I asked a very simple question. Actually, I saw it the other day, and it's kind of interesting. I asked people in the States, what do you think about America? And the answers were quite incredible.
And this was shot when?
That was shot in 2000.
In 2000?
Yes.
Wow. Do you still? I'm sure you still have it.
I do.
Because that's.
They talk about the Iraq War.
Well, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Is that's pre 9/11.
Yeah.
So you're getting some interesting answers.
Yeah, it is.
And it's just so different compared to like post Trump. You know, when the country is very divided.
Yeah.
What were some of the answers that you got? In 2000, like you mentioned a little bit about Iraq, that people were talking about the war in Iraq. For me, I'm literally in 3rd grade in 2000. So I have no knowledge of what like the political climate is like in that time.
It was the Bush days.
Yeah, it was Bush.
Yeah,
he just got elected.
It was about that, you know, not so much different than now, to be honest. Different trouble, different problems.
Yeah.
Same speeches, you know.
Yeah,
you know, which is it makes it interesting, the piece now to see it.
That's what I think is so cool, is like to really archive those and have it organized to be able to go back and share that type of stuff. Because what a lot of people say is like, it's funny. It's just like the grass is always greener in terms of like, oh, back in the day, people hated Bush. Yeah, but now he seems like a true good American president. Isn't it funny how people say that? Like, this doesn't need to get political. I just think it's really interesting to see like, you know, Democrats will just be like, oh my God, I would do anything for Bush. But then back then they were like, dude, this is crazy. Like my mom's friend had a keychain that was counting down the days until Bush left office. I remember that as a kid. I'm like, why is anyone getting so worked up about this stuff? Like, I'm in 5th or maybe 6th grade. I don't really know what's going on. But that was, thinking back, that was my first introduction to like someone signaling their political thoughts. She had a keychain that was saying, I can't wait until this person is out of office. And I'm just thinking like, that's funny. I don't really know what I was thinking. And I just remember my first introduction. Do you remember your first introduction to the political world? Or is that something that interests you?
That was a long time ago. No, I don't remember.
Yeah. I'm just because like, I find that interesting. It just clicked for me that there is a time and place when every individual becomes aware of like
politics,
I guess. Yeah. Or, just like there's two camps to this world and
Democratic
and Republican. So is, what's the political climate like do you go back to Spain? Is that where you're from? Your birth?
Yeah. I think because politicians have become like clowns, you know.
Sure.
They have some kind of personality, whether you like them or not. Bush, Thatcher, you know, all these, you know, they were, you know, they have some kind of like dimension as people now. Now the ones in Spain really suck. You know? You don't know who to vote anymore. Right. At least in Spain. Right. You know.
I've always felt that like a political candidate can say anything they want leading up to the election. They're not held by any laws to uphold what they said they're going to do when they get into office. They're not accountable if they don't follow through with things. So that's why. And like, why would you lock yourself into one side or the other if for example, if you say you're Republican but you are interested in a Democratic candidate, like. I just find the whole process silly, like that you have to lock yourself into one side or the other. And something else is that like every time I go back to America, people say like, oh, so what do the Chinese think about America? Like, what do the Chinese think about Trump? I'm like, they got their own problems.
Yeah, they don't give a damn.
They don't give, no one gives a damn about anywhere else. Every citizen of their country thinks that their country is like going up in smoke right now. Yeah. You know, like in France, they had problems with the elections. So that's why I don't know why people have a fascination with thinking like politics. I can understand why people get super interested, but I just don't.
Their own country is not important.
Exactly. I think it's funny that everyone thinks
America.
Yeah. But that yeah. Because I mean, you grew up or you lived in New York, Miami, and did you live in Los Angeles? Or?
I did.
So what was that? Because like, I actually don't like LA compared to New York. What are your feelings?
I like both. I like both. I mean, I'm in the middle. I think every country has these kind of like two big cities, like Shanghai, Beijing.
Sure.
In Spain is Madrid and Barcelona, which I'm from Madrid, and you know everybody from Madrid is like Barcelona. You know,
vice versa.
Clockwise. So I think both are great in their own style. I love my life in Los Angeles and I love my life in New York. Different style, totally different styles.
Yeah.
So I was pretty much in the middle.
Yeah. And it's funny that you also happen to have Miami in there because Miami is just like a total wild card. That place is insane.
Yeah. I prefer Los Angeles, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Miami is like just a total party scene. When I would visit my friend there, he would bring me to all types of clubs and
that's South Beach. There is all the parts where you don't have to go to South Beach, but it's still. I was much more into Los Angeles. At least they have a little bit of culture.
Yeah, well, Miami is. They say it's basically just like another part of like Puerto Rico, or like it's not even really United States.
It doesn't.
You speak Spanish, and you must have had a good time because everyone speaks Spanish.
Not really, because you try to speak English to the valet driver and speak to you back in Spanish. What the fuck are you talking to me in English for?
That's funny.
So it's yeah.
Learning Chinese. When did you start learning Chinese?
When I arrived.
When you arrived in Beijing 6 years ago?
Yes.
Because I mean, on almost all your videos, you do speak a little bit of Chinese, and everyone's always impressed. And you do sound pretty fluent. Would you say you're fluent or close?
Good.
You're not that good.
I mean, yeah, guess. I mean, I think people in Shanghai get it very impressed when you talk Chinese. I think Beijingers, people, Laowais or foreigners from Beijing, we tend to care more about speaking Chinese than the expats in Shanghai.
Definitely, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Everybody's telling me how good I speak.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I think it's easier to get by in Shanghai without speaking Chinese. In Beijing or other cities, it's like you got to learn Chinese, or else you're like people have no idea what you're saying.
It depends on you. I mean, depends on you can live anywhere in China without speaking Chinese.
Yeah, but
it will make a totally different experience.
It's.
How is your Chinese?
My Chinese is so-so. I'm always trying to study like a little bit. I went to university for the past 6 or 4 months rather at Jiaotong Daxue, and I don't know. I just I know a lot of words, but my grammar is terrible. And
there is no grammar.
Well,
I think
there is, man.
I think the main problem, which is still my problem, is the tones. Once you understand the tones, you can say anything that they will understand.
Right. That's what's very frustrating.
It is.
You say a word and it sounds like they say it almost the same way you did, but somehow they said it different.
That's the key about Chinese.
Yeah.
You just get down the tones. Then just doesn't matter how you say it. They will understand it.
I actually envy anyone who's like moving to Spain or maybe Italy or France to learn like a Latin-based language. Like if you're from...
the amount of time you put into Chinese... if I can learn maybe 5 languages.
Oh my God. Yeah. I would have been fluent in Spanish by now if I had been there for 5 years.
Spanish, Italian,
and
Portuguese.
I would have been, oh my God, life. Yeah. I've been putting so much effort into this language and getting so little back. It's so defeating to try and speak Chinese to someone like when you really think you have it down and they're just like, I don't understand you. Like, get out of here. Like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, no, I'm trying so hard. Yeah. So Spanish is your first language?
It is.
And then you learned English second, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you learn that in Spain, or when did you leave Spain?
I was 22. I went to London for 2 years, and that's where I learned English. I couldn't speak English when I left.
Interesting. Usually people have a bit of a accent of where they learn it from, and you don't have much of like a British or...
I had when I go to the States, but
and then it flips once you be there. Yeah. That's cool. What'd you do in London?
I was studying English.
Okay. University or just purely there to learn English?
Just school. And then my father was an antique dealer, so I was working in Christie's, the auction shop.
Okay.
I was working
That's
there.
really cool. Antique dealer.
Yeah.
So did he have a lot of cool stuff around the house, or?
Yeah. He was a Chinese art collector.
Wow.
So I ended up in China. But that's not the reason why I ended up in China.
Okay. Chinese art collector. Did he have anything? Did you have an interest in that kind of stuff at a young? Because for me, I've always been very interested in antique shops. I'm like, wow, there's some really cool stuff here, but I never bought anything in
China.
Well, in China, it's actually not so easy. I've only really looked around in Shanghai. There's nothing in terms of antique places. They don't tend to there's no even retro. In America, there's tons of retro shops where you can buy shirts from the 80s. They don't have that
here.
It's so
precious for them.
So you think people just really hold on to their stuff?
Hold on to them, and you need to really understand what it is. I mean, you really, I mean, you don't, I mean, you have to have a big understanding to know what it is, and it's very expensive. Just keep them for themselves, you know.
Right.
There is no shop, there is no antique shops anywhere.
Honestly, I mean, like none that are like labeled as an antique shop. There's one, down the road on Dajilu. They sell they more or less are probably like, sometimes they have like cassette tapes and they have old books and they have these really cool old comics. I'm not sure if they're replicas, like they're remade, but they look like propaganda comic book, like, you know, like a zine. So I always buy a couple of those and give them back to the people in the States as gifts. I've seen, you know, like Mao books that are old. Like that's the closest I've seen to.
Yeah, you won't get these vases. Or
no.
There are not so many and so precious for them. You know?
I think you're nailing it on the head when you say that they just want to hold on to it themselves.
Yes.
They have no interest in reselling it.
No.
Like that.
No. All the pieces outside China, they're fake. All the pieces my father thought they were real, they were fake. You know, they were actually they're pieces made for the West.
Sure, yeah.
They're pieces made for the West, and people they think in the West they have like Ming Dynasty, very expensive piece, but it's not. They're pieces made for the West.
Yeah. Have you been to Xi'an?
Yes.
Where did you see the Terracotta Warriors?
Yeah, I make a couple of movies.
I think that is a cool place to show like. They really appreciate their past. And do you know the history behind that at all?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about it? Because actually, all I know is there's a bunch of concrete warriors or terracotta warriors.
It was the Qin Emperor, right?
Qin Emperor.
That's what China.
Try and keep this a little closer.
Yeah, that's what China is called China because of him. Qin Emperor.
Qin Emperor.
Who put together China. It was the basis of the beginning of China.
Wow.
And then he wanted to have all this world. I mean, that's his, you know.
Yeah, that's his story.
Yeah.
I haven't been to many places outside of Shanghai. Actually, I've been to.
You've been to the People's Square National Museum?
You should, I think I went with my family.
Yeah.
I should go there again and do some more. Looking around because I'm really not too educated. I've been to Beijing. I've been to Guilin. I prefer to go to like nature spots when I'm traveling.
Okay.
For me, I'm not so interested in the museums and because I just feel like I could do that online. Like, see,
you see,
this is the flip. Like for me, like you don't care about film, but you like the digital. I don't care about the history. I can do it online. You know what I mean? Like we both have our practical ways about us.
You know, Achilles tendon.
Yeah, but I see the ignorance in that. Like, oh, you don't want to go and like see it for yourself. But it's like, dude, I literally, it will take me days to get there, and then I just stand there for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Or so, what other places in China have you been that are like a destination like that, like the Terracotta Warriors?
I think Kaifeng, which used to be the old capital, is pretty good. I made 4 movies there. Pretty much any city has a lot of history in China. You know, and it's working for me for the films. You know, going to all these places.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I'm super excited to see what's coming up for the future. You got another half of your journey.
Yeah.
Can you tell people where to find your stuff?
Well, it's the name of the Instagram account is 354 Films.
Okay.
And that's it.
Awesome.
I mean, I have a website, but it's much better to see it on the.
Yeah, I think the Instagram. Yeah. Everyone should go check it out. All right. Thanks, Louis. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Boom. That's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this podcast valuable, there are many ways you can support it. You can rate and review it on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends. You can blog about it, discuss it on your own podcast, or you can support it directly. You can do this by going to my Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description. On there, you will find subscriber-only content, like my Ask Me Anything episodes, videos and photos from Shanghai Observed I can't post on Instagram, as well as the bonus questions from many of these interviews. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. Also, if you enjoyed the intro and outro music, it was made by my brother, Danny Greenberg. You can go and check out his beats at soundcloud.com/estoric. ESTORIC. Okay, that's it for now. Peace.